We're back on Sun Devil Extra, an exciting guest panel today on the program, starting with a former gymnast here at ASU, Heather Udowitch, who is not only a great former athlete, but also living quite the impressive life post-graduation right now. First off, Heather, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it's really exciting stuff, and we said it right before we started recording. It's a day of powerful women on the program today, and I think certainly you are a prime example of that and the work you've been doing after your time at ASU. You got your degree from Sandra Day O'Connor School of Law, of course. You're an associate at Snell and Wilmer, the firm. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now post-grad and how that journey's been for you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so since I've graduated law school in May, I thankfully took and passed the bar and started working as a corporate and securities associate at Snell and Wilmer. The first year is quite the learning curve, so I'm just trying to soak in everything that I can. We have also recently started a sports entertainment group, so I'm trying to be as involved in that as I can and continue to build on so many of the things that I was able to learn from and absorb throughout my time at ASU.
It's such an impressive field, obviously, to jump into, and I'm always curious that first year out of student or college athletics and obviously getting through law school, how much did being a student athlete help prepare you now for being in the world that you're in corporately?
Oh my gosh, I think it helped me tremendously. I often reflect on competing here at ASU, particularly on the balance beam, I would say.
Okay.
If I'm ever nervous for like a big meeting in which I have to present, or I don't feel necessarily my most comfortable because it is something new, I think about big competitions where I competed on balance beam just because that pressure always felt like the most intense. So I'll often think about, gosh, if I was able to compete on such a big stage in NCAA gymnastics, then I can take a couple of deep breaths and take on this meeting or take on this big exam. So it is funny how those lessons, I think, have really served me in this field.
If you can do the beam, you can do anything, right?
Yes,
I mean, that's
absolutely. Like, it's 4 inches, so I like to be able to think that if I could do that, I could take on some life challenges.
I would say so. I think we talk about so many different sports on this show. Of course, there's 26 here at ASU. I would say out of all sports, that might be one of, if not the most difficult thing in all
thank
sports.
you.
No, and I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Thanks.
I think if we did a segment where I tried to walk on that just 2 steps, I would fall off. So it's unbelievable what you guys do in gymnastics, and I know it's a sport that's growing so much. Of course, the Olympics this past summer really helped with that, as it always does. But the state of gymnastics, specifically here at ASU, what would you say that's like right now, and how can it continue to grow?
Sure, yeah. So certainly with conference realignment, the first year that the team has been in the Big 12 conference, so a lot of different matchups in terms of teams and that they're competing against. But I would say that the team is looking great to be poised for many years to come. There have been some changes in terms of folks transferring,
Sure.
both in and out of the program. So just in terms of the group getting its footing, and certainly looking forward to this weekend with NCAA regionals happening in Seattle. I know that the team has been working really hard in the gym and is as ready as they're going to be going into this postseason. This is the time that it counts. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to accomplish this weekend and then in the years to come.
So obviously I'm a broadcaster. I'm not sure if there are many other broadcasters that are also lawyers, and you also had the opportunity to broadcast this year. So how much fun was that? It was the Utah meet, of course, when they were in town, the biggest home meet of the year for the Sun Devils in terms of them hosting inside of DFA. What was that experience like?
Oh, it's the best. I love commentating, especially with gymnastics because I've done it for my whole life. And when I commentate, I'm able to just talk about gymnastics for 2 hours.
Sure.
Now that I'm not doing the sport every day, that to me has been the closest thing that comes to actually doing the sport. So in addition to being able to talk about gymnastics, obviously, but to be able to see the student athletes, my coaches, our current administrators, just to catch up with so many folks that I was able to build, I think, lifelong relationships with throughout my time on the gymnastics team, that it's always just such a joy to be able to see them on a semi-regular basis when I'm able to commentate. So I really enjoy it.
Heather, I think your story is really awesome, talking about the full encompassing journey you can take as a student athlete here. Obviously competing at a Division I level at a Power 4 conference is one thing, but as we were just talking about, now your career after your playing days have been over, it's a great advertisement for what you can accomplish here at ASU. What would you say in terms of the experience you had here, both as a student athlete and also just in the classroom as well? What could you say about that experience that ASU was able to offer you?
Thank you for those kind words. I would say I really feel like my time at ASU set me up well for my entire career. You know, I think back on my freshman year living in the Barrett dorms and taking human event classes, and it was such a challenge when I had started, and I felt so out of my comfort zone. And then from more of an athletics perspective, the team environment that I was on, the expectation level of excellence, and to come into the gym every day with a good mindset, ready to compete, that it really prepared me well in terms of transitioning out of sport. Any time that I might second guess myself or be in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation, I reflect on my time at ASU. So I would say that I encourage folks to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves or that they're presented with. When I look back on, you know, why I went to law school initially, and certainly the things that I wanted to accomplish professionally,
Sure.
A lot of those things were based on my experiences at ASU, dealing with different administrators and my teammates especially. It all really just encouraged me to keep going, and ultimately has thankfully worked out for me.
I would say so.
Point.
Yeah, life lessons through and through, from really day one on campus all the way through the end, it seems. And you're also a leader in your own right as well. You're part of the Pac-12 student athlete leadership team, and I know that it had a massive role in terms of different legislative issues, and I know that's happening like crazy. We talk about it all the time on the show with Graham. What was that experience like for you?
That was a really pivotal time, I would say, throughout my experience as a student athlete. I met former Commissioner Scott when I was a 17-year-old freshman at ASU. Him and some of his other administrators had come onto campus to talk about some of our hourly requirements as student athletes, and just talking about some, to your point, legislative changes. And like I said, I was 17 at the time, and that was the first time in my life that I felt like folks in an administrative role really cared about the student athlete's perspective.
Sure.
So for me to get involved in something like that, I was just kind of chomping at the bits. And the Pac-12 did such a fantastic job involving the student athlete voice in terms of legislative reform. So some of the things that we worked on and were able to vote on included things like the transfer portal and wearable technology. And we would speak in the Pac-12 council meetings and discuss the pros and cons of each policy. I would say that that was a really important time for me because I got to see what it was like to honestly be an attorney.
Sure.
There were so many folks in the room that had legal backgrounds, and that really inspired me to want to pursue law, just to see the amount of change that I could hopefully one day be able to address. So I had a wonderful experience with Pac-12 SALT and the whole conference.
I would say this: you are an excellent example of what can be done as a student athlete. I know we said it once, but we'll say it again. And we thank you for being with us today. Best of luck in the rest of your career, and hopefully maybe one day we'll call a meet together.
Oh, I would love that.
Could happen.
That would be fantastic.
Could happen. But big thank you, Heather, for joining us, and continued success moving forward.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We'll be right back on Sun Devil Extra.